The first card, Mulchmuncher. 10 mana card, 10 mana Druid card with the mechanic Rush, cost 1 less for each friendly Trent that died this game. So, it's a very interesting card as there are not many Trent cards itself to make this card work. There might be more coming Trent cards in the rest of the set that will be there. But currently with the Trends, you have Force of Nature, you actually have Living Mana, what is also summoning Trends, to kind of work with this Mulchmuncher. The cost 1 less mechanic is a very strong mechanic. If you can make cards cost 1 less, and we all know how powerful that can be, and there has been many cards in the history of Hearthstone with the mechanic cost 1 less that became very broken. Think about the last expansion just with Corridor Creeper. So this card, even though it doesn't seem very fancy from here, and Trent Druid is not really a thing at all, it has the potential. It has the potential to be a card in Token Druid, be maybe even a card that can make it itself. There was a time where Arcane Giant was a very good card that just made a whole new Druid archetype. There has been times where just Corridor Creeper made an archetype work. If there will be a little bit more synergy between Trents, I can see this card being pretty good. Because if you can already make the card very cheap, but it also have the rush mechanic, it has a very strong potential. So for now on, I don't think this card is gonna be any relevant yet. But with a little bit more of a support, this card will not be the sleeper, guys. But he will become the keeper and be a very strong meta card. And once we are also talking about it, there has also just been a card revealed for the Druid, what is kind of summoning a little Trance. 3 mana, summon 2/3/3 Trance. Looking at this card itself, it being a spell, not necessarily very relevant compared to maybe minions of summoning 2 Trance. It's a 3 mana 4/4, so it's an alright card. The card itself, on itself standalone, is not very impressive. So, summon 2/2 Trance for 3 mana. It's okay. It's okay. But the card needs a little bit more support. But cards like this can be very good in Token Druid. There is a little bit synergy that you have with cards like this in combination with Violet Teacher that can do well. So there is a little advantage on it being a spell. Just needs a little bit more support. Like, if there will be a card that will really support Token Druid very well with like a Power of the Wild, but maybe just like a little bit cheaper, a little bit stat-wise better, it has potential. I don't think a card like this can just make it in any current Druid deck. I don't think this card will make any current Druid deck on itself. But as we have been seeing also, just with the card that we take a look at, like, there might be something with Trend Synergy. And maybe if there are neutral cards that can support the archetype a little bit, it can have a little bit potential. And the next Druid card, so you see already a lot of, from the 18 cards, a lot of Druid cards have been revealed. Druid also being probably one of the strongest classes now already. It is the Dendrologist, 2 mana 2/3, so it also calls himself the Dendrologist, kind of following the archetype of Arcanologist in my opinion. Battlecry, if you control a trend, discover a spell. So, very strong card, this card. 2 mana 2/3, discover a spell is very strong. So, we know how good, for example, just Shadow Visions is. Shadow Visions is a card, discover a spell that people play already for 2 mana. And this is just on Arcanologist power level. It is on the power level of, if there is any potential of the archetype, this is going to be becoming one of the best cards. A 2 mana 2/3, very solid stat line, and with a battle cry effect of discovering, it's just insane. So this card is very good, a very good card. If there will be a Trend Druid possible, guys, this card will be like the carry of the deck. But of course, there has to be a little bit of the Trend synergy happening. But this card is very strong, very strong card. Next up, well, probably the craziest card, guys, revealed, and probably it might become also the craziest card that will be revealed this expansion. It is Whistlerbang, the Wonderful. Whistlerbang is back here. We have had a Whistlerbang before, but Whistlerbang, the Wonderful. You start the game with one of Whistlerbang's Wonderful decks. What does that mean? Whistlerbang's Wonderful decks means that you start your game, if you play this card in the deck, you just start the game with one of Hearthstone's given deck recipes that is available. So you have 18, there are I think 18 deck recipes, and if you just play this card, you will get one of these randomly chosen. You will start the game with just a deck recipe that Blizzard has available. So what I mainly like about this card is that it is a very, very amazing card for new players. Where I have probably almost all the cards that are available. This card, if you have a little, or just if you don't have much cards available, but if you have this card, you suddenly gain access to a lot of the deck recipes that is available in Hearthstone. So you can suddenly play with legendaries, with epics, or with cards that you don't have yourself. And I think that is the mainly part that I like the most about this card, is that you gain access to cards that otherwise you're not having. And I think for new players, that is just amazing. I think it will probably, like, there might be some ways where I actually don't know how good the deck recipes are, but there is no way. I have had some deck recipes looked at in the past, and as a constructed player, I don't feel these cards these decks are like that strong in the constructed ladder. But there is definitely some potential. You can definitely rank up with them. But what I mainly like about this is just that how amazing it is. And you can also have a lot of fun with it. You suddenly play this card in your deck, and suddenly you just have every game is just a complete different deck that you're playing. And I think for new players, it is a great card to just learn a lot about different archetypes in the game. Just learn a lot about a lot of different concepts, different classes, but also just gain access to cards that might just be on the too expensive side otherwise to take a look at. So yeah, I really like. I don't think the card will be very impactful in the meta, but I think it's a very amazing card just for new players to have. And up next the card, and to make a little bit of a strong statement, guide, I think, with only having seen 20 cards so far, I think Floop will be one of the top 3 cards that is going to be revealed this expansion. That is, to make a little bit of a statement, I think that is how powerful I see this card. For Floopinus Floop, 4 mana 3/4. While in your hand, this is a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played. 4 mana 3/4, a little bit, like, it's a little bit similar stat line as we had before with the Barnes. That's kind of what comes in my mind, even though it has a completely different effect. But what you can mainly compare this card with is a little bit with Phases Manipulator. Phases Manipulator is a 5 mana 3/3 that copies a minion that is like on the board. This card has a little bit up and downsides compared to Faceless, but I think there is a very strong upside in the card. Like, while this is in your hand, a 3/4 copy of the last minion you played, you can copy. And the strongest beneficial part is, this mechanic doesn't end at the turn. So if you play like a Lich King, a Ysera, a Malygos, the next turn, you can still play another one just for 4 mana. Even though your minion is dying, you can still play it. And what I think is the strongest mechanic for this card is Malygos. Melee Druid is already a tier 1 deck. I have been playing a lot of Melee Druid myself. And I've been getting top 50 legend with it last season. And it's just an amazing card in this deck. Like, sometimes you really want to like try maybe play Malygos just when you can. But this just gives you the option to drop Malygos. Your opponent has to kill Malygos because it's Malygos. And then suddenly you play it next turn for 4 mana. It's amazing. It's insane. It's an insanely strong card in Melee Gods. So even though your Melee God's dying, you can just refill it the next turn. You can even set up more broken turns where you play the Twig at turn 4. Or your Twig is almost finished. You play Melee Gods, you don't finish it, and next turn you can play the Floop. You can maybe just copy it with a Faceless, and suddenly you just have two Melee Gods on the board, and you can just go double swipe. And there's a lot of strong combos that Floop is just gonna give you towards Melee Gods Druid. There are also other decks that it might be fitting in quite well, like in decks like Big Druid that play Ysera, that play the Lich King. This card is obviously very good with cards that have an end of the turn effect or anything like that, because it just copies the effect. And for 4 mana 3/4, like you don't play a card for 4 mana 3/4. You can play it with Stone Tusk Boar, and yeah, you have a 4 mana 3/4 charge. I mean, it's not that bad, but I think you're mainly looking for the very strong effects, for the very, very strong end of the turn effects to copy. And I think Floop is just fitting great into that. And I see the most potential with cards like Lich King, Ysera, and Melee Gods in particular. Very strong card. I will say that I think this will be an meta-wise, also considering how good Melee Gods Druid is, you will see this card a lot of play. And I think it's gonna be... I think it's a top 3 card out of this expansion, even seeing very little yet. I think this card is very powerful. Alright, next card is the Super Collider. After your attack, a minion forces it to attack one of its neighbors. 5 mana 1/3 weapon, so we really have to review this card a little bit into the mechanic, because obviously a 5 mana 1/3 weapon is not very appealing to any of us. After your opponent or after you attack the minion, force it to neighbors, force it to attack one of its neighbors. And I actually think this card has definitely a very strong potential. The mechanic of it attacking your neighbors is it's kind of like a betrayal effect that you have here on a weapon, and it also having 3 charges. It's a little bit of an investment. It will take quite some lives out of you, but I think Warrior can handle that, and I think it can be a very strong card. Imagine we all have faced the games where your opponent, where the Warlock, for example, drops a giant at turn 3 and a giant at turn 4. If you play this card then into the giant attacks the other giant, and both giants are dying. So you take 8 damage, but for that you kill both of the giants. There will be a lot of mechanics that people can also play around with this card, because suddenly this is a card that will test a lot of the player's skill to play around it. You can play around quite okay around this card, so that might be a little bit of an issue. But Warrior also being able to sometimes just kill other minions and synergizing it well, like it has a little bit of the synergy that you also have with Garrosh. I think Garrosh is better, so Garrosh will still be there. But it is a card that in a very greedy, very strong stat line meta, it can be very good. In a strong stat line meta where there is a lot of giants getting played or cards similar to that, this card has a lot of potential of them just dealing with each other and sacrifice each other. Very cool weapon though. I like the mechanic a lot on this weapon. I really wish, it's a wish already for me for the last 2 years, to have like a wish where positioning matters more. I feel in Hearthstone positioning doesn't matter much at all, and I wish that was a little bit of a bigger thing. So I kind of like that this gets into the game, to have that positioning part being more related in Hearthstone again. But I'm not sure if this can make it. It's gonna be a little bit hard, and it will be also very meta depending if this can make any fit. Next up, a Noyo model. It is a magnetic card for the Paladin. Magnetic card for the Paladin being a Noyo model, 4 mana 2/4. So stat line is kind of weak in a part, but it has the magnetic mechanic. Magnetic mechanic of Divine Shield can be very strong, I think, because that's like one of the parts where magnetic might shine. To give a little bit of a more explanation to magnetic. Magnetic is a mechanic where you can eat another... Now I have to say it correctly. But magnetic is a mechanic where you can eat other cards, other mechs, towards each other, and you copy the stat line. The attack will get... so if you magnetic an 1-5 mech, it will suddenly become a 3-9. And you also gain all the effects that the card has. So you gain the Divine Shield, you gain the Taunt, and every effect on the card. I am not sure how strong the magnetic mechanic will be, because it will always be a little bit weak towards single removal. What might be a very, very big issue for a magnetic mechanic. But it can make some very, very strong big boys. I will see. I'm not sure how good a card like this will be. It has to depend. Like, I think 4 mana 2/4 Divine Shield is already alright. It's actually a very alright stat line. So it has some potential. But we really have to see if there will be a little bit more mech synergy. And then it can be bad. Or then it can be pretty good. Let's actually first go to other magnetic cards, guys, to give a little bit better example. So here is a mech card that I really want to talk about. It is the upgraded Framebot. So just looking at this card, maybe not the most exciting card here and there, but a very card we should have a very good eye on. 2 mana 1/5. 2 mana 1/5, guys. This is a new power creep that we are having here. I mean, we have the Magma card that is 3 mana 1/5. Here 2 mana 1/5. Very, very strong stat line for a 2-drop. 1/5 is also very, very, very strong for a 2-drop. Like, if there is any strong opener from aggro deck and you coin this guy out, it is very, very strong. So, very good card already itself. And one of the cards that probably might make the magnetic mechanic work. It is a cheap card. It gives a lot of extra stats towards the magnetic mechanic. So I think this Framebot has a lot of potential. It's also a neutral card, so it can be played in all the classes. It can be played in all the decks. So I think it being a neutral card makes it very strong. And it's kind of like the new Dire Maul a bit too, where it can just fit very well in token decks, in aggro decks. Very strong stat line, very strong card, and it will definitely see quite some play. And it might also be the card that just supports the mechs and the magnetic mechanic a lot. And RIP Agma Rager, or what was the card called, guys? Bible Thump towards Agma Rager. He just got power creeped. And here another card for the magnetic mechanic. It is the Wargear, a 5 mana 5/5 mech, being a pretty okay stat line. I think 5 mana 5/5 is not a stat line that I get very excited about, with not any special effect. And it has the effect of magnetic, so that makes it kind of okay. But I think this card will not get played at all. There is a little bit potential, of course, where it can work in towards in the magnetic mechanic, where you can make very strong cards. But I think you prefer to play, you really prefer to play like the Framebot in these kind of situations. I think it being so expensive to make the mechanic work is a very big issue for the mechanic. So I would not like to play this card just for magnetic. We don't know how many more cards will be revealed for the magnetic mechanic, but I don't think a 5 mana 5/5 is really gonna make the cut. I think we need more powerful cards to make it work. It can be okay, because it can really add as a Blessing of Kings in that way. You can't kind of directly attack, right? So it's kind of directly a Blessing of Kings effect in that way. That makes it a little bit better, actually. There is some potential with this card, I guess. I just don't like the neutral stat line of it. But if it can also like directly attack here, that's actually like 5 mana 5/5 directly attack makes it different. For mechs, I mean obviously for mechs, but you're gonna play this card in mech decks. If it can directly attack too, that is actually definitely something we have to, because it's kind of like a bone mare Blessing of Kings effect of directly buffing. A neutral Blessing of Kings for mechs. That's actually very strong. This card is actually good. Now I think about it for a second time, and it also being like a direct way of attacking. It's actually very strong. This card is actually has actually a lot of potential. The magnetic mechanic, we have to really keep that in mind, that it can also directly attack. So if you magnetic a magnetic minion, it still is able to attack. What might make this card very, very strong. It works like that, right, guys? That it can directly... Can it be a directly attack? I mean, you can silence it, but I mean... Like, it can directly attack, right? If magnetic goes with magnetic, it can still attack, right? Am I correct on that? I think it's okay card, but yeah. It's a pretty okay card. I think it's actually a very strong card now I think about it second time. If magnetic works, this card is very strong because it acts as a Blessing of Kings. And here, guys, next up is Ziliax, the legendary mech card, the legendary mech magnetic card. 5 mana 3/2, so obviously the stat line is maybe not the most impressive. But then, look what the card says. Magnetic, Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, Rush. So where we talked about how powerful magnetic can be if it gets like a lot of bonus effects going. Well, Ziliax is definitely offering a lot of these bonus effects. It's kind of like an... a little bit of an Alakir in a way, but a little bit more board oriented, as it doesn't have the Wind Fury and Charge, but has Rush instead. But it with a magnetic mechanic, like imagine just a random mech surviving, guys, and you play Ziliax on it, and suddenly it gains Divine Shield, Lifesteal, Rush, and everything. Or just at turn 7, in combination with the Framebot, you can suddenly make a 7 mana 4/7. With Divine Shield, with Taunt, with Lifesteal, with Rush. So, there is a lot of synergy that you can already have with this card. And I think it is mainly strong with the cheap mechs. Because then you can really benefit from the additional stat line. And you can make it happen directly the same turn. Because you kind of also want to use the Rush mechanic of it. Very, very solid card. Very strong card. Especially because of the Rush Lifesteal combination. I think it is a very strong card. Definitely strong in a more aggressive mid-rangey meta, where we really play a lot for the board. And yeah, I think this legendary is very solid. It's very hard to review these cards, as it is only like, this is obviously only like very strong in a mech deck. But I think it is it has quite some potential if the mechanic or if the mech decks really go off. Ziliax will definitely get played in the deck. It's a very strong card, especially with the cheap mechs. So then I think it has a lot of... And I think mechs will really want to play for a lot for the board. So I can see this card being very strong. And hey, it's a neutral legendary. So we'll see where mechs really are gonna shine. Not sure yet what the mech class will be. But it has quite a lot of potential. And here, a very, very huge big mech for the warrior. 7 mana 3/8, the Berry Lion, Nulliveer. Magnetic, can't be targeted by spells or hero power. So, Not very impressed by this one yet. I don't think this is the very. I think it's a very powerful effect to heaven can't be targeted on your mech, because then you would make it very weak to like any kind of silence effect, but or single removal effect. But it might be a little bit of an issue, this being like a 7 mana 3/8 mech. It doesn't have like taunt or like any defensive synergy, and I'm not sure if warrior will be the mech class. Like I don't think warrior can support the magnetic mech or the mech decks enough. I think magnetic decks or mech decks will want some aggressive part synergy in the deck, and I'm a little bit worried about that for the warrior. So I'm not sure. There might be, if the mech mechanic really goes off and the magnetic mechanic is gonna be there, it can work. But I feel this is one of the more weaker cards. I like the Paladin card more, for example, that has Divine Shield and Taunt just for 4 mana. I think you really want the mech cards to be cheap. I don't think you want to go too expensive on the mech cards. So it is an it has like some potential still here and there, and we don't know all the cards that are revealed so far. But for now, not too impressive to me. Next up, for the Shaman. The Shaman is getting another elemental, and it is the Magnerit Nimbus. Battle Cry, add a random elemental to your hand. 2 mana 2/2 elemental with a Battle Cry of add a random elemental to your hand is it's a pretty strong value card. And I think that is mainly what a card can really shine. I think this card is not gonna be a card that we're gonna play a lot in Arena or in Constructed, because of the adding of the random elemental it has a very big diverse reach where it can go to. Like, there are a lot of elementals, but I think this card can be very good in Arena. Like, a card like this cards like this have always been very dominating and good in Arena, and I think that is where this card will be very good too. I don't think it will be a card in Constructed. It's just adding a random elemental. It's not a card we want to play in Shudderwock Shaman. And adding a random elemental is definitely not a thing Shudderwock Shaman likes. You can play it in Elemental Shaman, but like the part of adding a random elemental, like there are a lot of good elementals, but there are also a lot of bad elementals. So I don't think you really want to make this work in Elemental Shaman. And Elemental Shaman is currently not really firing off either, so it needs like a really sick card and not like a card that is kind of meh in the deck. But a very good card in Arena. Like, this card is a card that you want to almost insta-pick maybe in Arena. Like, having this additional value, getting an extra card, getting an extra elemental, it can work. It has a little bit potential in Even Shaman, where you can play now with 2-drop as a 2/2 stats. I think the stat line in Even Shaman for 2-drops are, I think for Even Shaman there are already enough good 2-drops. I think the problem for Even Shaman is mainly the 4-drop, where I feel the 4-drop has like only weak cards almost. So I don't think this is gonna be a card that we're gonna play too much in Even Shaman. But maybe if there will be one time in Even Elemental Shaman, it can get some guide cards. I mean, the card cannot be bad. It adds value to your hand. It's an elemental, so there's a lot of synergy in general. We'll see if there will be constructed decks that can maybe fit it in, but it will not be in Shudderwock Shaman. Adding a random elemental is more of a negative effect than a positive effect for Shudderwock Shaman. So I'm very happy that it's not a card that is gonna make the Shudderwock Shaman any better. And next up, guys, it is the Mage Legendary. The Mage Legendary Stargazer Luna. 3 mana 2/4. After you play the rightmost card in your hand, draw a card. So, if you think your top deck skills are good, guys, it suddenly became even better. 3 mana 2/4. After you play the rightmost card in your hand, draw a card. If you think about it, guys, what is the rightmost card? It's the card you top deck. So, if you are a good top decker, guys, please play this card. It's probably a card that is more a card of it's a card that you want to play more in a more aggressive mage deck or a more tempo mage, because you want your right card to be cheap. If your right card is an 8 mana card, well, you cannot play it twice. So I think this is a card that you really wanna play in like a more tempo-oriented deck, and then you go like off with double Frostbolt, or maybe it's a card you want to play in Murloc Mage. I mean, Murloc Mage has also been a deck that has been around, so hey, why not play this? It kind of works like a way of Echo maybe too. Like this with Echo is actually very strong. Like if your right card is an Echo card, and then you play the Echo card, and then you go off with the Echo again. Like this card has quite good synergy with Echo cards that are very cheap, and maybe with Elenough too. Like if you play an Elenough deck and you play this Luna in it, and then you make your deck very cheap, it has quite some potential. So kind of like that it goes more into the a tempo mage direction. The 3 mana 2/4 is a very solid stat line, so that's quite some potential. And hey guys, if you're good at top decking, play this card. Biology Project. So we are getting here into another Druid card, and another Druid card that is able to cheat a lot of mana. Each player gains 2 mana crystals. So what is this very, very strong thing about this card is, it gains you 2 mana crystals, and it gains you two full mana crystals, if I'm correct. And I think that can make the card actually very, very strong. It kind of is like an Innervate. The old Innervate of gaining 2 mana crystals. I think this card can be very good. Like Druid is a class that can very cheat well on mana crystals. So having a card like this that gains you additional mana crystals, and we know how much Druid can do with this. It being a way that it also works as an old Innervate, where you can directly use the 2 mana crystals, is very strong. You can go off with this. You can play it early. You can even play this turn 1 with a Wild Growth, and suddenly you already go to like 5 mana the next turn to follow it up with a Nourish, and to then play an UI the turn after. So you can have like incredibly strong combos with this. Of course, each player is gaining 2 mana crystals, so you also help your opponent a little bit with this. It being a cost of 1 is of course a little bit different, because it kind of only acts as a coin the turn you use it. But I think cards like this are just, we know how much Druid can do with mana crystals. Like, let's never forget how strong every gaining of mana crystals currently already is in Druid. I think until Ultimate Infestation rotates out, cards like this are just going to be very strong. Ultimate Infestation is such a sick card in Druid that makes any card that gains mana crystals completely busted. So I think this card is actually gonna get played in a lot of Druid decks, in combination with Nourish, Wild Growth, and Ultimate Devastation as a core package. It might not be a card you want to play as 2-offs, because it can be very negative too at some point in the later game. But I think it's definitely a card that you kind of want to play as a 1-off, in the way of gaining additional mana crystals. Play it with a lot of draw. Play it with Nourish, Wild Growth, UI. Play it with the Hole to also get like the card draw going. And I think it is a card that, because of the negative effect, might only get played as a 1-off in Druid decks. But it just having the option of cheating on the mana crystals is just so good in Druid that it will see play. And up next is the Mira Unstable Element. And damn, what a crazy card this is, guys. Draw the rest of your deck. Insane card. So this is one of the first legendary spells that it has been revealed. And every class will gain 1 legendary spell. So where we had before the legendary heroes, the legendary weapons, this expansion every class will get one legendary spell, and here is the rogue spell. And rogue, of course, always going a little bit like in a more miracle way, with their weapons, with their legendary cards. Well, kind of the same here for the spell. Draw the rest of your deck. So I think this is actually a scary card. I know a lot of cards are I know a lot of people are like more towards this card being not very impactful, horrible cards, 400 dust. I don't think it is necessarily like that. I think if you combine this card with a lot of the good row cards that are very putting you additional bonuses, like cards that are like Father Strider, that add like spiders into your deck, can become very strong. It is also a very good Togvogel Druid counter, by the way. When if you want to counter the Togvogel Druid, well, let's just draw your whole deck and there's not much to Togvogel anymore. So, and you can maybe also Togvogel your opponent, huh? So, that's like a thing. Togvogel your opponent, then draw the rest of your deck. So, very, very adding a little bit of these mechanics too. I think this card, because of the Miracle Way, can become very strong, but currently I don't think Rogue has enough supports. Like, there is the Veldry Strider that can like add a lot of bonus stats on the board, but I don't really think for the rest it has enough synergy yet. Very, very interesting card. Like, this mechanic can have like an it's a very insane mechanic. Imagine just go, if you prep this at turn 2 and you draw your whole deck and you can go, like, there are cool things you can do, and I'm for sure there are gonna be decks that are gonna be very funny with this card. So it's a miracle card, but for now I will put it more into the dust category. But if Rogue gets like more support towards this, and it can become like a thing. It can become like a thing. Think about Kingsbane too. Like, if you play Kingsbane in your deck and you just draw your deck, but the problem is like your deck is just like you discard too much for now. So we'll see. Maybe there will be things. What a card. Next up is the legendary for the Shaman, 3 mana 3/3 Electra Storm Surge. Your next spell this turn, cast twice. Very interesting Shaman card. Very, very solid Shaman card. As a 3 mana 3/3, your next spell this turn costs twice. And a very strong elemental. So there are multiple ways you can look at this card and the multiple ways you can use this card. It can work as a removal, where you of course go twice off with a removal. It can work with like a Bloodlust. So your next spell this turn casts twice and you just play double Bloodlust. I am not sure what way this card really wants to fit in. Like, you can, if we first think about the current Shadowbox Shaman decks, and you play this with a Farsight, you play this with an Volcano, it's like okay. 2 times Healing Rain can be very strong too, so it is like a card that, like, if you play this at turn 6 and you go this with the Healing Rain and you just heal for 24, it's not bad. You can also go off with Earthen Might in like a more elemental Shaman deck, where you just play it twice and you draw 2 elementals and you buff for 4/4. So it has like, I think you mainly want to look at cards that are 3 mana or cheaper with this card to make it very good work. So what I'm mainly looking at is in combination with Farsight, Healing Rain, Earthen Might, and well, maybe with Bloodlust, because you suddenly don't have to play double Bloodlust. I'm more excited for this card in like a Tempo Shaman or like a Board Shaman, Elemental Shaman, to make this card work, where you just play a little spells and it being working there, and it also supports the Elemental synergy. I think this card is very good of itself. If the card will get played much is more depending on how good Shaman will be, and not just Shadowbox Shaman, because I don't think the the Shudderwock Shaman. It's kind of an issue, I think, for Blizzard, that Shudderwock Shaman is in the game, because every time they make a Battle Cry card, they have to keep thinking of Shudderwock. Like, Shudderwock is already so strong, and they cannot give it any more support, and Shudderwock Shaman will still be there for 1.5 years. So every time now there will be a Battle Cry card being revealed, like, they have to think of it like 10 times more because of Shudderwock. I think this card is also a little more buff in a way also to Shudderwock Shaman. But it also has like other Shaman archetypes that it might be supporting too. It's a very strong card. It is a card that Shaman likes to play, so that really helps. It having an elemental tag, I think, is positive, and it's supporting different. I really like that it also supports other Shaman decks, not just Shudderwock Shaman. But it will be awesome that if there could be like different Shaman archetypes also getting played. I think Shudderwock Shaman is just too strong, and that might be a little bit of the problem of this card, because Shudderwock Shaman is very combo oriented, and maybe it just doesn't get the cut. But it being a legendary, and it also synergizing very strong with Farsight and Healing Rain, can make it very strong. I think the card is very good. And the last card I think so far, let me take a look. Oh no, we have two more. Spider Bomb. It is a hunter card with a magnetic mechanic. 3 mana 2/2 Death Rattle, destroy a random enemy minion. So, well, a magnetic effect that has a Death Rattle that you can of course also synergize very well with other magnetic cards. Destroy a random enemy minion. Hunter has a lot of good ways to destroy minions, so it's not a card that you necessarily need in Hunter. With like, if this card will be revealed in a lot of different classes, it might be just completely busted. Hunter has already Hunter's Mark, it has a lot of single removal, so it doesn't necessarily need a removal. I think Hunter has the potential of becoming one of the very strong mech classes because of the aggressive part. There has been a time where just 1 or 2 mech cards were revealed in Hunter before, and it just made already a mech archetype kind of working. It can be an okay card for a more hybrid way of making a mech Hunter work. And if it can go a little bit aggressive, the problem is this card is not very aggressive at all. So it doesn't really synergize that archetype. I will see. In a Death Rattle archetype, it has potential. Of course, we know that Hunter can also synergize Death Rattles very well with cards like Play Dead. So it has additional potential in that way. We'll see. It isn't more of an. It's more of a tech card. It's more of a situational card, and I don't think situational cards are the way you want to go with the magnetic mechanic. That might be a little bit of the problem. We'll see if there will be more magnetic cards be revealed, and to give it a little bit of a better look. And here is the first card that we are getting with a new Omega mechanic. It is a 4 mana 2/6 Omega Defender. Taunt Battlecry. If you have 10 mana crystals, gain yourself plus 10 attack. Wow, plus 10 attack, guys. So suddenly you can make your 4 mana 2/6 a 10 or a 4 mana 10/6. Very, very, very strong stat line. Very strong stat line for a 4-drop. And this card is already kind of okay himself. A 4 mana 2/6 taunt is not bad. It's not bad. And it being a 4 mana 10/6 can be very... Or a 4 mana 12/6. Sorry, I even am wrong on the stat line. It even gains 12 attack. I mean, it can be very strong. You have to deal with it. And it's only 4 mana. So, not bad. Can even play it in Shudderwock Shaman, guys. And everything gains plus 10 attack. So you can suddenly play them for tempo. And every Shudderwock has suddenly plus 10 attack. So your Shudderwocks are all 16/6. I think it is a solid card because of the taunt. Otherwise, I would have a little bit of an issue with this. It's kind of a power creep towards Stegadon. I mean, why would you play anytime Stegadon over this? It can be a very good card from Stonehill too. The only problem I have with this card, why is this not a mech? Shouldn't this guy be a mech? Like if it would have the mech mechanic or the mech, then I could also see it very working well in a mech deck. But I guess it's Blizzard doesn't want it to be in a mech. What I can also see, maybe it will become too strong. It has okay potential. It has okay potential. I'm not sure if it will be getting played in a random, like, constructed deck. It is definitely a very good arena card too. I think it might become too strong. It will have the mech wording, so I think that is the reason. But it's just a little bit rare to see people like, you're not gonna play this card in your constructed deck. You just don't play 4 mana 2/6 taunt. Like, you look for more things. Like, maybe in like even decks it can like find some use. Maybe in like an even shaman or even warlock it has like a little bit potential there. But otherwise I just feel you just don't put it in your constructed deck, even though it's being a very solid card, very strong arena card too. So yeah, that was the first part of the review, guys. I hope you really liked the review that I did here. I will definitely follow up this review video on more review videos. I am planning on doing 1 review video a week to keep up with all the cards revealed. We will get a lot of cards revealed in the next weeks too. And then we're gonna get a very good view on how the Boomsday will look like and on all the cards. So very excited for that. And let's get excited for the Boomsday project. What is the card you guys are the most hyped about? This is a very strong card. That one is very strong. I think this card is strong too. So we actually got already a lot of Druid cards, guys. Like, if you just look at the Druid cards, look at this. We already have 5 Druid cards. If we look at Hunter, we have 1. Mage, 1. Paladin, 1. Priest, known. Wow, we don't even have a Priest card. Rogue, 1. Shaman, 2. Warlock, known. Warrior, 2. And some neutrals. But look how many Druid cards have been revealed already. So on Druid we can already have like a little bit of a good view, because they get one of the best cards probably of the expansion with the flu. But the rest of the cards are all regarding trends a bit, or these 3 at least. I mean, Druid is already so strong. It's probably the best class in the game with also multiple archetypes. So I really hope, I mean, this card is so good. This card is good too. They definitely get good support. I don't know if Trend Druid will be a thing, but Druidstone will definitely continue a little bit. But Druid is always good, man. Druid has always been good. Alright, guys, that was the review part.